All right, guys, this is United States America Attorney General. They actually had a group of people actually sued, as are Fauci, Dasrick, Barrick, FDA, CDC, NIAID, which is the National Allergy Infectious Disease, Moderna, and Pfizer. These are the counts. Counts 18 U.S.C. 2331 and 802, acts of domestic terrorism resulting in the death of American citizens. Count 2, 18 U.S. Code 2339, conspiring to commit acts of terrorism. Count 3, USC 15 USC 1 through 3 is conspiring of criminal commercial activity. Count 4, 18 USC and 175, funding, creating a biological weapon. Count 5, 15 USC 8, market manipulation allocation. Count 6, 18 USC 1001, lying to Congress. Count 7, 15 USC 19, interlocking directorates. 8 counts as 18 U.S. Code 2384, seditious conspiracy. So what happened in the 90s, Pfizer wanted to develop this patent for coronavirus, the COV vaccine. It's never been done before, recognizing this S protein as an immunological target for vaccines. They're targeting the S protein. Here's the patent. November 14th, 1990, U.S. Patent 6372224. Focus on swine and canine gastritis. The patent was abandoned in 2000. So, during the same period, this Ralph Barrick, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, what if I told you they also designed the bioweapon, COVID-19 bioweapon at Chapel Hill, DOD. That right, Kristen Sherman. The program designed commercially weaponized naturally occurring toxin beginning the criminal conspiracy. That violates, of course, 18 U.S.C. 175, 15 U.S.C. 1 through 3, and U.S.C. 8. Barrick's expertise, what he did is he modified this. They knew it was associated with cardiac problems, cardiomyopathy. The National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Disease granted Alabama AL 23946 and GM 63228, leading to a patent which created infectious replication, defective clone, recumbent coronavirus. They used a natural pathogen, harmful. They're making something more harmful to humans by manipulating the spike protein. For those of you who don't believe the spike protein is, there you go, and other receptor targets in your brain. A year after filing the patent, GOFCOV, the world experienced the first case of severe acute respiratory syndrome. They put turbocancer, SARS, and AIDS synthetic forms in the bioweapon. Under the guise of responding to public emergency, the U.S. Centers of Disease Control, which is a British company, filed a patent application for the genome of SARS. April 25th, 2003, accessing and manipulating your genomic data. China making an invention claimed by U.S. entity illegal. Dr. Barrick and his team filed a patent with pathogenic CDC claim of the novel 2003. This violates 15 U.S.C. 19. Fauci was appointed by a board position, and Bill and Melinda Gates arrest him. Competitor in the vaccine manufacturing, therefore beginning the interlocking directorate and an antitrust crime. In 2005, DARPA and MITR hosted conferences with the intention that the DOD, there you go, synthetic corona biohacking biological warfare. That's what they did. They're focusing on it, presented by the COV is a biological warfare agent, violating 18 U.S.C. 175, violating 15 U.S.C. 8. Barrick and Fauci and all these U.S. Department of Defense spent over $45 million of your taxpayers' dollars amplifying the toxicity of COVID vaccine with its chimeric derivatives. They used the DNA of a lightning bug, luciferase's delivery system, uses the chimeric DNA of other animals, making you chimeric, an abomination to God, cutting your double helix, using CRISPR, cutting out, 13, Freemasons love 13, of your chromosomes, your stepladders that God's blueprint made you who you are and turned you into a beast. Added Nephilim blood. 13, CRISPR technology. Violates everything that we stand for as ethics. They're changing humans into the image of the beast. From 2011, alleged COVID, the COVID-19 pandemic, Fauci routinely laminated of the inadequacy of public funding for his vaccine program. And the general public was unwilling to succumb. He said everybody must get vaccinated. Despite appropriate advanced vaccine dependency, his efforts was largely unsuccessful. So this allergy and infectious disease under Fauci's directive authorization encouraged UN Chapel Hill to Barrick's lab ignore the GOF moratorium of a letter dated back in October of 2014. Fauci and Barrick and the EcoHealth Alliance Peter Daszak was in possession of extremely dangerous Chinese pathogen identified a year earlier in Wuhan. While illegal acts were committed by conspiring leading up to 2015, the domestic terrorism program, the violation of 18 U.S.C. and 2339, announced that the NIAID funded Daszak, National Academy of Sciences. He announced that became a domestic and global terrorism event branded COVID-19. Note that the gain of function and Barrick's both recipient of millions of dollars of U.S. federal grants and all the federal agencies such as the WHO and the DOD, the taxonomy of viruses, the corona, all these studies groups, the Corona Verde Study Group, CSG, capacity that were responsible, these novelties of these viruses associated with these patents and commercial collaboration. The CDC and the NIAID, WHO, academic commercial parties, of course, including Johnson & Johnson, Sanofi, which I found out bought my old pharmaceutical company, Boehringer, Corona Patent, holding biotech companies, Moderna, Pfizer, Merck, who created AIDS, Biotech, AstraZeneca, Janssen, Ridgeback, Gilead, and Barrick's alter ego, Sherlock Biosciences, and others, a powerful group, very powerful group of biotech people, interest consulting of what interlocking directives under U.S. antitrust laws. So again, they're violating 35 U.S.C. and 200 through 206 by failing to disclose the federal government interest in the remedies proposed. They made a more dangerous virus. It's going to harm humanity. It already has. Killed millions of babies, sterilized millions. Entities affiliated with the WHO's Global Preparedness Monitoring Board, the GPMB, whose members are instrumental. These members are instrumental, they say, huh? Unbelievable. The Open Philanthropy Funded Global Corona Pandemic Desktop Exercise Event 201 and 202. Told you it was a military operation. They wanted to use SARS, turbo cancers, CRISPR technology, linking. What they're doing is they're linking, interlocking funding partners to emerge from China and Italy, where all the biotech conferences in Rome are also. New York's involved. My biotech smart contracts through Nestle. Dr. Jinghai Shi and Barrick's work. This transmission, the zoonotic transmission of a coronavirus, identified overlapping mutations of this virus. 2013, the Institute of Virology in Wuhan. Coronavirus 1 spike protein was described. Funded work in China involved NIAID and the USAID and Peter Daszak, head of EcoHealth Alliance. They need to be sued. Under ROAIO 179231, he was response, this isolation, this characterization of the bat SARS and the coronavirus that uses your ACE2 inhibitors in your lungs. All that's why the SARS is affecting your lungs. They knew it would. It was designed that way. The Gulf Work NIAID allowed, that's your allergy and infectious disease department, persistent in the face of this moratorium by Dr. Barrick's work with his pathogen. So they used his pathogen to create this. Sustained funding base beyond the crisis said we need to increase public awareness and understanding the need for the MSCs, a pan-influenza, pan-corona vaccine. Key driver, the media economics follow hype. We need that hype to our advantage to get the real issues. Investors will respond to see the profits. Yeah, that's Daszak. It's not surprising that a year later, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, they paid off with Dr. Barrett's lab announcing that Wuhan derived the pathogen was poised for human emergence. It's all Event 201. Knowing the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, CDC, NIH, NIAID, they funded these laboratories and commercial partners. They had patents. Each proposed an element of medical countermeasures. Funding, Fauci, Geo, China, CDC, Ellis, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They committed acts of terror in global population, including citizens of the United States, when in September 2019 they published the following mandate, A World at Risk. So they're trying to get donors prepared for the worst. They've spread the pandemic due to lethal respiratory pathogens, deliberately released, of course, poses additional preparation requirements. So they went and they got institutions. Appropriate non-pharmaceutical interventions were, of course, broad-spectrum antivirals. All of this, donors, multi-institutions, adequate investment in developing all these vaccine and therapeutics. Donors, countries commit identify timelines for financing development of the influenza, universal vaccine, broad-spectrum antivirals, and targeted therapeutics. All about money. Donors, countries, and multilateral institutions develop a multi-year plan approach for strengthening research and development. The WHO, United Nations Children Fund. Goodness, Federation of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent Society's academic partners identifying strategies. Red Cross is not your friend. Confirmed the utility of September 19th demand for financing development of the vaccine in SARS and CoV-2 allegedly outbreak in December of 19. Fauci began gloating that his fortunes, made fortunes, billions, and the one that rubber stamped it was his wife. Come on now, can you say a little conflict of interest? Additional funding was likely changing for the better. In February 2020, an interview with Stat, he quoted, "The emergence of a new virus is going to change that figure. Likely considerably," he said. "I don't know how much it's going to be, but it's going to generate more sustained interest in coronavirus because every clear coronavirus can really do interesting things." November 2019, 1 month before the alleged outbreak in Wuhan, Moderna entered into a material transfer agreement. It brokered by the vaccine research of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases at Chapel Hill. And Chrissy Corbett worked in access to Barrick spike protein data, commenced vaccine development, written and obtained by the Financial Times. It's being the foundation for the mRNA Moderna vaccine. To finalize all this racketeering and antitrust commercial conspiracy, it came time to commercialize that NIH and the DARPA-owned spike protein. Let's really get up in there. DARPA-owned spike protein to pass it off as a vaccine. The conflict with the standard for vaccines is statutory. Scientific application. Operation Warp Speed contract awarded the DOD and ATI, subsidiary of Answer. Graphic remnants of antitrust hearings formation of the Clayton Act in the 20th century. Interlocking conflicts of interest presented by Graphic Relief. There you go. Here's Operation Warp Speed. United States Air Force, Marines, DOD, USA, Therapeutics. Make the research, create the vaccine. You don't create something in just a month or 6 months. It's usually 10 to 12 years. So here are all the people that committed crimes against the American people. If you don't wake up and realize that you're being changed into a transhuman, I can't help you. So here, doctor, I'm writing to implore you as a medical doctor, based on your oath you took a do not harm, and by faithful in making patients aware of the dangers of vaccines as much as you promote their safety. Because of your integrity as a doctor and because every child made in the image of God, I would like you the right thing in regards to a letter written in 2013 by the American Academy of Pediatricians. These are pediatrics writing these papers. It said all parents and patients should be informed about the risk, the benefits, the prevention, and therapeutic procedures, including vaccination. You have to get a letter of consent. Nowhere in the said letter is anything stating concerns or the risk of vaccines. Conversely, in the benefits of vaccination described a very one-slanted side of the story. In light of this letter, I'm proving that 11 undeniable facts regarding the dangers of vaccine. United States Supreme Court rules that all vaccines are unavoidably unsafe. None of the vaccines the U.S. CDC recommended childhood vaccines were tested against any invert saline placebos. No placebo trials were ever done. No safety studies ever done. The HHS lawsuit shows no safety studies ever been conducted on vaccine in the last 33 years. Compensation for vaccines injury to date, $4.4 billion and counting. And counting. The CDC, frankly, a vaccine company, owns at least 50 vaccine patents and buys and distributes. That's a conflict of interest. Through the Vaccines Children Program, examining JFK's claim, he says, and he beat them, they own over 20 vaccines. So how can you own something and demand that you put it on the schedule for people to take? I don't understand that. 6, in Congress passed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, freeing these companies from liability. There are two hepatitis B vaccines licensed, one-day-old babies. Seriously, something just born, you're going to put vaccines in the body, manufactured by Merck. Hepatitis B is licensed by the FDA in a trial solicited by adverse reactions only 5 days after vaccine. Come on, guys, why are you doing this to newborns? In 8, U.S. populations in 1965, 4% of the kids born in 86, only 12.8% had chronic disease. That number had grown to 54%. 54% of vaccine, the general generation, according to 2011, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Obesity, chronic health problems in children and youth. National state profile, leading health problems in U.S. care quality for U.S. children. Science Direct, vaccines can and do cause injuries. Message that vaccine injuries are rare but not supported by facts and anecdotal evidence. That HHS-sponsored study for the Agency of Healthcare Research and Quality. What they found, that vaccine injuries, when tracked using electronic medical records, occur in 1 in only 39 vaccines given. 10. Post-license vaccine safety surveillance is failing the American people, children around the world. These adverse reporting of theirs, where doctors and patients voluntarily report. They only received 58,000 reports in 2018, 412 deaths, 1,237 permanent disabilities, 4,217 hospitalizations, and the HH funded the review of theirs concluded that fewer than 1% of vaccine is reported. 11. CDC vaccine work. A whistleblower, William Thompson, he denied the ability to testify regarding scientific fraud, destruction of evidence by CDC officials, vaccine safety studies, and association between childhood vaccines and autism. He came out and alleged that CDC destroyed the evidence that black boys were 3 times more likely to develop autism if they get and receive the MMR vaccine before age of 3. You are protected from all liability if you exclude the 3 imperatives. You must provide a full disclosure of risk. This 11 undeniable facts in a handout for your patients. Right here. Give it to them. Make this information available on your website. Make it known to your patients can opt out of any and all any vaccines by expressing religious or medical or philosophical right of exemption accordance to state in which they live in. You have to treat the patient whether he's vaccinated or unvaccinated. And as you know, President Reagan in 1986 signed the Law of National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, which eliminated all financially reliability from the manufacturers. Doctors can be sued, though, unless they committed fraud, deceit, trickery, practice, and breach of confidence, which perpetuated for profit to gain unfair advantage. And I believe in order to protect you and to keep you from committing fraud, you have 30 days to rectify the situation of not providing this to your patients. In my opinion, it's possible that even probably anyone who's injured or dies from vaccine 30 days from you receiving this letter could hold you, the doctor, along with the President of the United States, the U.S. Senator, and the President of the Board of Directors, all of them liable. This was a bioweapon. American Board of Pediatrics, Bill Gates, Fauci, Redfield, criminally and civically liable for injury and death, but not addressing the 3 requests above. You're enabling vaccine companies to commit fraud on the American people. I urge you on information presented here to plead with you, support, listen to those who question you regarding the safety of vaccines, instead of rejecting their cries for truthful information, becoming a useful instrument of the pharmaceutical companies. This letter has been sent to you certified as of today, making it public. Thank you, Christopher Key, for this. Here's the vaccine reports, adverse reports. At that time, this was several years ago, 2021, this is how many people have died. We've got to stop this insanity of poisoning the holy body.